Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 262 of CryptoBiography, and it is The Lines Part 1. And so it's a brand new story. Hope you enjoy it. And here we go. What are those? I asked Tim. We were having lunch outside at Rick's Burgers, watching the occasional people walk by. What are what? He asked, looking around. Those weird lines. Lines? The lines. Between those people walking down the sidewalk. He looked. I don't see what you mean. I looked at the couple again. One man, one woman, about the same age. I had them figured for married or dating. In the sun, there was definitely multiple colored streams moving between them. They were moving pretty quickly, and so they were out of sight in a few seconds. I rubbed my eyes. Was something wrong with my vision? Tim was looking at me, taking a drink from his lager. Everything okay there? Dunno. I looked around. I looked at him. We were in the shade. There were no colored streams coming from him. I looked down at myself. Nothing there either. Maybe it was some light effect from them being in the sun? I don't see anything now. Weird. They probably had a spider web stuck to them or something. Yeah, that made sense. Something was physically hanging between them and just caught the light. That must have been it. After lunch, we headed to our cars. I did notice briefly a single thin blue line hanging between me and him, but he was already getting in his car, and I convinced myself it was nothing. That was Sunday. I didn't see anyone else that day as I went home, did some chores, and watched some TV. Monday morning, I drove to work. I was an insurance adjuster. Well, this entailed a lot of driving around to sites of accidents and so on. My manager, Lucy, liked to have everyone in for a meeting first thing. Lucy was a perfectly fine manager, but I immediately found my attention wandering. In the morning light coming in from the windows on the far side of the room, there were colored bands between everyone who was in the sunlight. Mostly orange, but with some green and one red. There were also some dark bands. They were hard to spot, but it was as though bands of light had opposites and filaments of darkness were stretching between some of my coworkers. Fortunately, I was not required to respond in any real way during this meeting, and we were dismissed. I had claims to verify, so I got into the car. The day was going to be sunny. I was starting to see thin, bright filaments all over now. Sometimes they arced far overhead. I couldn't see anyone they were attached to. They were dark lines, too. Both lines were starting to become so common, I was getting worried. Could I end up in a situation where I wouldn't be able to drive safely? It was strangely beautiful, I thought. They weren't exactly rainbows, but the general feeling was the same. Only everywhere, in many directions. Even the dark bands had a certain beauty to them. But I still had no idea what they were, why they were showing up more and more commonly, and what caused them. And that's the end of the episode for this week. Obviously, this is very short. It's much shorter than I like episodes to be. I've noticed that since I've gotten back from vacation, I guess I'm just out of practice or something, or I'm not sure what's going on exactly. But it's definitely, I feel like I'm spending the same amount of time, but just not getting as much written. So I'm going to have to focus on that and figure out why that is. But I hope you enjoyed the bit of story that there was. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2022, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.